aquel caracol que va por el sol y cada ramita lleva una flor. Que viva la gala, que viva el amor, que viva la gala de aquel caracol.
In the hustle of today, we're all inclined to miss little things that mean so much. A word, a smile, a kiss. When a woman loves a man, he's a hero in her eyes. And a hero he can always be if he'll just realize. She may be weary. Women do get weary, wearing the same shabby dress. And when she's weary, try a little tenderness. You know she's waiting, just anticipating things she may never possess. While she's without them, try a little tenderness. It's not just sentimental. She has her grief and care. And a word that's soft and gentle makes it easier to bear. You won't regret it. Women don't forget it. Love is their whole happiness. It's all so easy. Try a little tenderness.
Hi, my name is Rose Robin, and I want to tell you about the art project that I've been doing for the past half a year or so. I've been working with some kids in La Paz, beautiful, beautiful La Paz, Baja California, Mexico. And the reason why I found my way there is I was asked to do a mural. And this first video is the mural that I was asked to do in La Paz. And it was a study of underwater marine life. So I did lots of swimming.
Well, do remember to love the life you love and love the life you live. San Luis alongside Jamalski. We bring peace, love, light and unity. We don't care, Jack.
Positif chaque jour que l'éternel fait.
So
Mes ennemis rêvent de me voir tomber.
Tell them.
Politique rêve de nous éloigner. La route est longue, j'avance le poing levé.
Come on.
Every day is a
Each and every day is how it's saying.
Then I go.
They're never going to win.
Then I go.
They're never going to win. You know why? Let me tell you why. It is a war between good and evil. Oh, no, see how Jamal Rockin' is the chosen rebel. It is a war between right and wrong. We sit down on the rhythm rebels and I keep it strong. See how ghetto youth them suffer. And get up on them living at the gutter. Black against white, it's a race war higher. Rich man get rich and the poor them get poorer. That's why we hold the mic and bring the roots and culture. Sit down on the rhythm, yes you know we represent and then we keep it proper. Perdominate, 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 perdominate. So what? So Louis, tell them.
Positif chaque jour que l'éternel fait. Quand mes ennemis rêvent de me voir tomber. Les politiques rêvent de nous éloigner. La route est longue, j'avance le poing levé. Every day is a fight. Then I go. Then I go. quête, dans son esprit un manque accompli. C'est une larme dévaste, et là, c'est que les vérités sont néfastes. Les larmes et les drames, aucun de ces soucis n'est passé. On se croirait dans Dallas, même qu'ils effacent des continents de retour à l'ère du troc. Tant attendu, même si les moyens d'y arriver ne sont pas les bienvenus. Cha-la-la. Positif chaque jour que l'éternel fait. Quand mes ennemis.
As Bob Marley said, love the life you live and live the life you love. La Paz has changed a lot in the past 80 years. There are many people here who love the life, the marine life, this beautiful whale shark. Really, La Paz is full of amazing animals, creatures, people. It was called La Paz for a reason, and you can really, really appreciate that only when you're here. I've written an article which I will be reading during the film about the beginning of the Painting Pirates Club, which you will see shortly as I finish floating above you in the beautiful Heart Sea.
This is an article about the very same people and the area of La Paz written about in the book The Pearl by John Steinbeck, and an artistic project called the Painting Pirates Club, who is now making a difference to a lost generation of children by teaching them to express themselves. Whilst painting in the Arroyo, I noticed some tagging and some graffiti art, and I realized with a rush of excitement that other Mexican artists had been there before me. I later met some of those artists, and they explained to me they had started to teach mural painting for the very same reasons I had. Yet, every time, they were stopped by the police, some at gunpoint. I was allowed to continue, possibly because I'm a European woman with long blonde hair, or because I babbled in my terrible Spanish trying to be charming. Every time the police hassled me, the conversation ended with him saying, "Okay, just don't tell anyone that I let you continue." After being visited by the entire La Paz police force and the machine gun armed police chief, they now just wave and honk their horn. Having media coverage was a great help. We have been on local TV 3 times and newspapers more than I can count. This all helped to allow the teaching of free expression to continue.
Avec le temps, j'ai bien compris que l'on restait toujours seul face à nos peines.
I believe in giving people the right tools to make their dreams and ambitions possible. My name is Rose. I was born in Britain, but I have lived most of my life in France. I left school when I was 12 to become an apprentice for 2 US artists. My main occupation is muralist. I believe that art is a grey area of discussion, a place that allows us to think. I have been introducing street art to the children and adults here for the past half a year. I am also showing films and artistic documentaries in Spanish and teaching them to film and make their own documentaries so they can tell their personal stories.
Demain le soleil se lèvera, comme chaque jour brillera. Il faut être deux à ce moment-là. Quand le bonheur m'apporte, illuminera, je saurai le garder près de moi.
The people living in the Arroyo originate from mainland Mexico, Senora. They are of the Yaquis tribe. They are Native Americans who came here to fish and dive for pearls. They were adept at holding their breath and were of great profit to La Paz. It's truly beautiful, a real paradise. La Paz has not been ruined by tourism, unlike its more famous neighbor, Cabo San Lucas. And the locals are nice and welcome you openly and sincerely. When I arrived in La Paz, I had an aquatic mural commissioned to do for some US house owners in the Esterito area in La Paz. Once I had finished the mural, I had a few gallons of paint left over and I decided to start painting the walls of a 2.5 kilometer long concrete river down the road from my apartment. I started painting early in the morning, and within 2 hours, children started coming out and watching from about 50 meters away. Whenever I would turn around to see, they would duck behind a tree or a rock and giggle. I had 2 bags of M&Ms, one of which I laid on the wall closest to them. Then I had their full attention. The dangers of living on the Arroyo and the economic problems of the people living there. I wanted to get a full and rounded perspective for this documentary, so I talked to some land developers, an enterprise called Decope. The spokesman for Decope had this to say. Begin quote. The people living on the Arroyo are squatters. They are not legally allowed to live there. They are taking a great risk living there. We have offered to move them to a safer area, but they say no, no, no. They are squatting the land next to a dry riverbed, which becomes a running river when it rains. It only rains a few times a year here, but when it does, the ground is so dry that the water flash floods. The rainwater is directed into Arroyo Concreto. On October 1st, 1976, Hurricane Lisa's great heavy rains caused a flash flood that burst the banks of the dike near La Paz. The resulting torrent of water did heavy damage and killed at least 435 and probably more than 630 people. The people living in the Arroyo will be allowed to stay there until they can no longer afford to. As La Paz changes economically, these people are left behind because of their high rate of illiteracy. End quote. My friend Betty, who lives at the end of the Arroyo where the water is evacuated into the sea, had this to say about Hurricane Lisa. When the dike burst and the estuary flooded, the town didn't have time to tell the people living in the Arroyo, and many were washed out to sea. An 88-year-old fisherman called Senor Winker Leon had this to say when I asked him about the hurricanes. When a hurricane is going to hit, we make a soup with biscuits and cheese and wait for it to pass. I remember 2 big hurricanes, October 5th, 1957, when a hurricane made a landfall on the peninsula. Afterwards, all the panga boats were broken. Hurricane Lisa in 1976 killed almost 1,000 people. The fishermen were pulling out the dead from the sea for days. And dead people were piled up outside the hospital and everywhere in the streets. We dug a trench for all the unnamed dead and buried them all together. Another tomb was dedicated to the missing in the graveyard. I found my panga boat all full of sand and I cleaned her. I still have her today. She is my lucky panga. The development along the coast of Baja has changed the locals' lives beyond words in the past 50 years. The speed at which the land has changed has left the locals spinning on the spot. The locals were not employed to do the building work for the booming tourist trade. Instead, the developers had hundreds of people immigrated from the mainland Mexico because they would work for less. Unfortunately, as a result of the recent economic problems, the tourist industry is flagging. Large encampments of unemployed Mexican immigrants have started to populate the outskirts of La Paz. They have no running water or real living quarters. The hotels that populate the coast have illegally closed off beaches to local people, not wanting them to bother the tourists by selling them goods or playing music for money. This is in effect illegal. Coastal beaches, including 20 meters above the high water mark, territorial seas and related resources are under federal jurisdiction in Mexico. These lands and waters are considered common goods, which can be traversed freely by the public. I asked Betty about the education of the children in La Paz. The children do go to school from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m, she said. They don't learn much in school. It's all up to the parents to make sure their children learn. Most fathers are tired after fishing and the mothers are mostly illiterate. After the age of 12, most of the children don't go to school anymore, so the children turn to easy money. This results in sexual diseases and addiction. It costs 5,000 pesos to go to rehab, which most people can't afford. Since I have been working in the Arroyo, I have been welcomed into the community and I'm often invited to eat with them. This is what I've noticed. Most of them are illiterate. Most of the families live in a one-room house and all the children sleep in one bed. Most of them don't have a water heater. Most of them have never used a computer or a cell phone. The kids do go to school for a few hours a day, but past the age of 12, they don't go to school and spend their time in the Arroyo. Most of the fathers are out of the job or working several jobs for hardly any money. It's easy for these children to assume that no matter how hard they work, because of where they come from, they will never achieve their dream. When you give them something else to do for 8 hours, it really does make a huge difference.
Fly little bird, you can be free. But me, I can't make so you look. Fly little bird, you can be free. But me, I can't make so you like. Me, I'm get up when we're living. I will tell you my story. I want you inside. I'm every day between this world. I'm here because I don't.
Up until 30 years ago, the fishermen could fish freely and sell their catch on the beach or in the streets. Now they can only get a fishing permit if they work for a fishing corporation. There are two possibilities: private corporation or cooperative run by fishermen, where the money is divided almost equally between the fishermen. There are 4 cooperatives in La Paz, and more being founded as the fishermen who can read and write are opening their own. The fishing permits, which they need to buy to be allowed to fish, are 3,000 pesos for 2 years fishing. A fisherman working for a private corporation makes under 100 pesos a day, unlike the fishermen who work for a cooperative, who on a good day makes 2,000 pesos. The private corporation hands out the boats and the motors. The fishing permit is bought by the fisherman. If anything breaks, the fisherman has to buy a new one Many of the men in El Esterito refute working for a corporation. Those fishermen who fish without a permit are called pescadores libres in El Esterito, but are known as illegal fishermen by most social circles. I asked fisherman Jose Maria Artes Ortega about his livelihood. I have worked for a private corporation for 30 years, he said. When I asked Jose what the name of the corporation he worked for is, he had no idea. I can't read or write, he said, shrugging his shoulders. I asked Senor Winkler Leon about the fishermen in El Esterito. The fishermen used to fish with nothing more than a paddle and a net. They would light torches to fish at night. They used to fish for sharks and turtles. When a fisherman caught a 9-meter-long shark, his boat would sink into the water 10 inches. They fished for the sharks, for their livers, which was turned into oil. They would throw the rest of the shark back into the sea. I asked them about the fishing corporations. My son is the head of a corporation, which was started 2 years ago, called Pescadores del Esterito. He is also working on a small family fishing corporation. We had some problems when we started the corporation as our boats and motors were stolen. Now we have 33 fishermen, 15 permits, and 15 boats in the corporation. The fishermen can't fish every day. The fishing is only good on full moons and new moons. On a good day's fishing, a fisherman can make 2,000 pesos. The cooperative takes 2 pesos per kilo of fish to pay for administration. I think I should give you a little bit of information about the people I interviewed for this documentary. Jose Maria Artes Ortega. Jose never asked his father where his family came from before La Paz. He considers himself native to Baja Sur. I asked Jose if there was anything he would like to add in this article. Yes. To love the sea, care and appreciate the sea. I hope one day the children can go fishing for free like before. Betty. Betty's family has lived in Esterito for generations. Both her father and husband were fishermen. She is a single mother of 4 daughters and 1 son. As a child, Betty would go door to door selling her father's daily catch. She now owns her own restaurant, which she runs with one of her daughters. You could consider Betty and her children a success story coming from Arroyo. She and her children can read and write and have jobs in La Paz. Betty is also the president of the colony of Arroyo Concreto. She often organizes free celebrations for the children and people in her restaurant. I asked Betty if she wanted to add anything to this article. Yes! Come and eat at Betty's, the freshest fish in all of Baja, she said with a cunning grin. And then she added, love your colony. It's important that the colony gets organized, to understand the paperwork and the politics. Senor Winkler Leon. Senor Winkler Leon has lived his entire life in La Paz, 88 years. He started working when he was 14 years old, for the boats importing and exporting. When he started working, 74 years ago, he was paid 60 cents of a pesos a day transporting food for the ranches. He has lived in El Estrito for the past 40 years. Before that, he lived in the other oldest part of La Paz, El Mangalito. When he was a child, the beaches were full of shellfish. At low tide, he would go and collect buckets of scallops and sell them door to door for 5 cents of a pesos the bucket. Or he would trade them for food. I asked him if he would like to add anything to this article. Yes! Education is very important. When you can read and write, you can run your own business. The kids have lost interest in fishing because many of their fathers can't get fishing permits. My son's children love to fish and want to learn because their father is not being taken advantage of. La Paz means peace. Since I have been living in Baja, I have been living in one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. I have met people from all walks of life and swum with wild dolphins, whale sharks, and seen grey whale babies with their mothers up close. The town of La Paz is full of galleries and amazing artwork. I love it here, and I recommend to visit this amazing place at least once in your lifetime. There is no violence in the streets, just music everywhere, and lovely, chatty Mexicans who just want to please. At the end of the day, you will enjoy a breathtaking sunset reflecting in the Cortez Sea. You will know what it feels like to be totally at peace.
That we look upon should tumble and fall.
or the mountain should crumble to the sea. I won't cry, no I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, stand by me, oh stand by me, oh stand now, stand by me, stand by me. Stand by me, whenever